I'm glad I asked that question before it was official.
Oh, it's official now. The recording started. So.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Welcome to Photography Chat
Hey, Brian.
with Merlin.
Hey, Brian.
Photography Chat with Merlin.
Brian says I look new job fresh. It is week 2. It was an early week, so week 2 is over today. So yeah, it's been a bit of a new job. It's kind of a nice change. You know, it's fun stuff. How are you doing though, Daniel?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. It's my day job. I teach full time, so today is drop day. So it's a big day for professors.
So what is drop day? What does drop day mean?
Drop day is the last day that a student can drop before and still get like a W on their transcript. So like it's like then the students just disappear and you never hear from them again. It's kind of a sad, weird thing. But yeah, it's like a benchmark that we all know, which is like now we just have 3 weeks and then it's finals week. And I don't teach Maymester, so for 3 weeks in May, that's when I first actually usually every year go into the now PolaCon planning for the big one here in September, because I'm off for those 3 weeks. I'm able to start making phone calls, making sure venues are secure and things like that.
That's really exciting.
So May, if I have not messaged anyone back for any reason, May is a good time to hit me up because I'm off for 3 weeks.
Nice. Well, that's kind of exciting. It's nice to have some time off, especially with like academia. It's so stressful, right?
It's really hard to do sick days or travel. That's why like a lot of things are planned around when I'm on break, like spring break and things like that. So, but yeah, I love teaching. I for those who don't know, I need to do like an introduction.
Yeah, why don't you take a quick sec to? I'm sure most people here are aware of who you are, but maybe there's a few people or podcast people that'll be catching this later that might not have any idea.
I teach a bunch of different classes at Dallas College Brookhaven campus. I get to teach in the same darkroom I first took photography one in. It's one of the larger darkrooms left in North Texas. There, up until not too long ago, was a lady who was driving up from Austin pre-pandemic. She would drive up every other weekend from Austin just to use the darkroom there in Dallas. But I get to teach darkroom photography, so photo 1, darkroom based, digital, photojournalism 1 and 2, so news photo 1 and 2. So basically digital, studio, a little bit of like everything. And it's pretty cool because I make the students start off doing like radiograms, so they kind of ooh and ah and get to make their own radiogram. I tell them to bring some like baubles and things like that. So I know I get to like be like a cool class, and it's a cool thing because I was in their shoes, and nothing's cooler than that first magic moment for a bunch of students who've never seen it. Now it's either students who are a little older who used to be in darkrooms but haven't been in a long time. For them, it's still magic. Or it's like young people who've never seen it or only seen it in movies. So, I make them all crowd around and the radiogram comes to life, and then I make them do a pinhole camera. So I teach them about like pinhole camera day and things like that, hashtags, that kind of stuff. But I also teach media writing and news reporting classes, intro to mass comm. I advise the student newspaper and the literary magazines there. And I'm proud of my students. They win lots of awards, so it makes me look good.
Well, that's awesome.
That's my day job, and that's why. So the backstory of like why people say PolaCon seems like a lot to do, seems like kind of hard to organize, and it seems like a lot of things to pull off. I'm used to having to do student journalism conventions, and big talks, like all day talks, and putting those together. So for me, PolaCon was something that was like, well, this is easy. It's just you just change out the names and plug in people in different places, and it's not that hard to do. But so I don't know. Was that enough for the intro?
That's plenty. You forgot to say your name though.
Daniel Rodrigue, like row your boat, but Rodrigue is fine. As long as you don't call me Dan or Danny, we're okay. However you pronounce my last name, just call me Daniel, and you can't mess it up. Right? That's what I told you.
I don't think I've ever made that transgression. I think I've always been good with Daniel, but good to know.
Yeah. No worries.
So how did you get into photography?
Well, like a lot of us, I grew up with it around me. My mom and dad were both photographers. My mom took a lot of photography classes, so there's a lot of black and white photos around the house and things like that. I grew up with Polaroids being in the house, Polaroid cameras, the clamshell type, the ones you didn't have to shake it already, right? So Polaroid film, and it was always around. In fact, there's a photo we have of me and with one of those Kodak color things at like a demo. So I have a portrait of me taken by my mom when I was like a little child on that Kodak instant film. And I posted it on Instagram years ago. But then I at Brookhaven, I took photo one in 2001 into 2002 and 3. And I basically went down the rabbit hole. I took photo one, which was darkroom based then. He didn't make us do, Travis, if you watch this, it was an awesome class. Clearly, I got excited about photography, but I tried to go to University of Texas Arlington, look at some other photo classes and see what they were doing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do a pinhole. I'm going to do radiograms. If the weather's right, cyanotypes, So basically 2001, I fell down the rabbit hole. Started doing photography, and then I was also writing for the student newspaper. I didn't say a minute ago, since 2008, I've written everything from blog posts about art, food, hard city news, cover stories for the Alt Weekly in Dallas Observer. So it's like some of y'all who have the Village Voice or SF Weekly or The Stranger and things like that. It's an Alt Weekly. So I, early on as a student journalist, which is, I kind of didn't like a lot of times photographers will not talk to the writers, so the photos won't match the story. I'm sure every reader has come across this where you're looking through a news story or a magazine and it's like, oh, they talked to these 2 or 3 people, but they didn't talk to this one person, and it would have been cool to see a photo of them. So early on as a student writer, I started pitching and doing photojournalism. And I was actually upset because then I got an award for a photo of a zombie before I got a writing award. And I was a little bitter because I considered myself then more like a writer, and a photographer was like a hobby. And I was just getting into it because I was okay at it. I was pretty good at it. But then I stuck with photography and kind of always, I guess someone asked me the other day, when did I start shooting Polaroid? And I was like, I never stopped shooting Polaroid until it got real expensive or hard to find, right? So like many of us, it was just always a part of my life. And then the heartbreaking few years there were, the late 2000s where it seemed like the end of the world. So that's kind of how I got really into photography. My mom really especially, and encouraging it, and then taking those early photography classes with Travis Uyoka, who inspired a lot of photographers. And then now, again, it's weird because I get to teach the same class and inspire new photographers. So what else? What's another question about the early days? We want to keep going. We want to keep going back in time, or we want to flash forward in time?
No, I think you covered it there. It's like, how you got started. And I don't think there's a lot of people out there that are as OG Polaroid as that, where they've been doing it since childhood kind of thing. It's kind of wild to think that, because Polaroids are around when I was a kid, but we were too broke to afford a Polaroid, so that's quite a luxury.
And I'm not going to make it like my parents had it all the time, but definitely special occasions, Christmas, we have Polaroids of holidays. And big moments, and mom would write on the front, Easter 1978. So those of you who know me or are friends, you can creep around on one of my albums, and there's some early dapper Easter Polaroids of me in a pretty cool suit. There's another one of me sitting and reading a newspaper with nice backlighting.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so yeah, I grew up around hobbyist, photographers who had taken college classes and liked it, and then I took the photography classes and never looked back. Like I said, I've been shooting for the Observer. The first time I had Polaroids in publication, publication, Alt Weekly, was 2008. So since 2008, I've been publishing or had my Polaroids published in a bunch of different papers. Of course, the Dallas Observer, the Houston Press, or Houston Chronicle, and a couple others. But and then another thing I do on the side is I don't advertise it. People come to me, but I do like Polaroid or Game Boy photo booths. I have a collection of neon laser backdrops, which many of you who've come to PolaCon here know that's a big thing that's different about PolaCon Bay Area and PolaCon in Denton is I have a collection of backdrops. So I bring a bunch of backdrops. So on the covered patio where we're at, there's always usually at least 3 or 4 different neon laser backdrops, and then a couple other silly, weird backdrops. And as we all know, Polaroids look pretty good if you use a backdrop. The closer you get, those colors pop.
Well, and everyone loves getting 90s style school photos as well. Those backdrops are pretty bitchin'.
Yeah, so I have 4 of the neon laser, the kind that most of y'all are picturing, the purplish blue with the baby blue or sky blue and pink airbrushed lasers. I have 2 that are the cliche ones, slightly different tones, and then one I have is a gray and white, which is most any studio photographers know the gray and white. You can kind of make it any color you want. And that one has clouds at the bottom. So it's clouds with neon lasers at the top. That's and then cool. The other one is just multicolored, every hot pink, all the hot, what do you call them? Highlighter kind of colors. And they're all airbrushed in hard diagonals. So they make for great Polaroids.
That's awesome. Awful Repute had a question here. How different was it to have Polaroids featured in Weeklies when it seems out of the norm?
I mean, I think that anybody who knows the history of Polaroid knows that Polaroids have been used in print for a long time. In newsrooms, a lot of times you didn't have time. I mean, even newsrooms back in the day, of course, had darkrooms down in the basement, right? There was a darkroom on site because they had to develop and then print and run it upstairs, right? But even in student news, Brookhaven, the other day I came across some old Polaroids and they were headshots for a story. They didn't have time to shoot the photos and take it to the drugstore and wait a day. They needed that photo that day. So somebody marched over and there's still, I have a couple different Dallas College branded, Brookhaven branded Polaroid cameras. One's an SX70 and the others are clamshell one steps. But you'd walk over with a one step, do the close up, take a photo of somebody, and then they would come back, cut it out, and cut and paste it on the page. So Polaroids have been used in print and publications for a long time. Anybody in the studio photography knows, they're used as test prints, and sometimes those test photos end up cooler and better, so they end up running those. Scan it, take a photo of it. Before we scanned it, right? Now we use flatbed scanners, of course. Now everybody's familiar with using cameras to do flat work copy, which is something I teach at Brookhaven. It's weird because for a while there it wasn't needed to know, and now everybody's back getting copy stands and using tripods to do what we used to call flat work copy. Anyway, that was I feel like a rabbit trail. You'll have to keep me on track.
No, that's the whole point of this thing is to go down rabbit holes and explore nuggets of things that you may not talk about in regular conversation. Dave says that he misses pack film for that reason. It's so much easier to proof shots.
Yeah, I mean, pack film, that was why we started into film study. Justin Good and I, if we want to go back to the origin real fast to do the quick origin story, we were starting to see films go away. We felt like there needed to be a clear, some type of group or organization that was willing to talk to Polaroid or whoever the companies were. Some of y'all know who were around since the beginning. The first 2 years we had a contact at Fuji, and we had a contact at Fuji. They would send us prizes and things, and then it got harder and harder, and we've never really. So if someone out there from Fuji Film is watching this, feel free to DM myself or Instant Film Society, because we would love to reestablish contact. But of course, we have a great relationship with and had Impossible Project and Polar Originals and now Polaroid again. So we felt like there needed to be some group that was doing something and kind of making people aware and educated. And that's why each year at PolaCon, we do what's called the State of the Emulsion Address. And I think for a lot of us, the last 2 years, it's been great. There's been a lot of new developments, so many new backs and cameras and, modifications and things you can do with 3D printers. So I think right now, I mean, it'd be cool. It'd be cool if lots of stuff came back, but it's cool. Young people right now that don't know what was before, like, it's a cool time to be shooting instant film.
It is.
So I'm one of those that y'all don't see me ever crying and complaining in the groups. I'm not one of those who's real sour in the Facebook groups. I try to always look on the bright side of life when it comes to instant film. Like, to me, as long as they still make 600, I'll be okay. I mean, SX70 and 600 would be great. 8 by 10. I'm going to stay positive. I said I was going to stay positive. That's what I'm going to do. So let's talk about something else that's slightly negative that's positive. Get it? That was a pun. I teach. I do this stuff as a bit, like in classes. Y'all know when you get done with your pack of film, you can crack all the plastic and the metal apart, and you can get the battery, and you can find someplace in your community that will let you recycle batteries. I'm lucky at Brookhaven. There is a battery recycling station. It's literally within a few steps of the darkroom. We used to have a box down there, and I would take it up and dump it. So old batteries, all your camera batteries, of course, but especially these, and many of us go through a lot of them. I also tell my students, don't take on like a religion about this. Like, if you're out somewhere and you can't, just drop it in the trash. Most people throw them in the trash, but know that they can be recycled in most communities. Most of where people are watching this and shoot film, there's some place that would take the batteries. Anyway, so that was my sales pitch.
That's not a sales pitch. It's a very important public service message of just don't throw it out, because our environment's so fucked anyways. So.
Don't shake it. Don't throw it out.
Outcast lied. Outcast lied so bad. Don't shake like a Polaroid unless you want to maybe ruin your photo.
So Brian had a perfect pack. I don't know. I forget now which kind of film it was, but the only time you should shake Polaroid film is, of course, when you're picking up an old pack and you're not sure if it's dry. You can pick it up and you can shake it, and if you hear powder or things rattling around, it's dry and expired. So that is a surefire way, and truly the only time you should be shaking Polaroid film. And I guess unless technically you happen to have some of the very old film that needed the chemistry, and then that's of course why people shook it.
That's very true. But the integral film, do not shoot the integral film. That's cute. I don't have one of those here, but I do have a tiny Polaroid. Here we can. This
is the prototype. The next thing after the Go will be a keychain camera. This was the one that was sent to me by Polaroid. I'm kidding. There's no NDA. I'm lying. That was a joke. Wouldn't it be great though if there was like a truly pocket-sized one? Many of you know Daniel came to the other Daniel. I believe his last name is Bao. I have it written down, and I'm terrible with names. And he's not on Instagram, so I don't know his @handle, but I have his contact info. But many of y'all know, who came to Bay Area, came with a working iZone camera, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. He had a brand new refrigerated pack. He busted it out and shot shots of just about everybody who was on a patio at one of the meetups. So it was pretty cool.
It was wild. So the iZone stuff was really wild because they lost money on it because it was all hand packaged in Mexico because since it was so tiny, they couldn't run it through machines. So they ran it in a factory in Mexico where people had to hand pack it, and that was part of why iZone died. It just became too expensive.
Well, maybe they don't need to make it with the stickers and the thing. I mean, back to like if they made like something kind of ridiculously small. I mean, anyway, I have a kid now, so I think in small sizes he loves the Go.
Yeah, Andy was just asking, what are thoughts on the Go?
I mean, I remember seeing people say this will never be used for artistic purposes, and I just shared a photo of like iZone collages. Like if you're that limited, that you think that size matters that much when it comes to the size of the frame, you're limiting yourself as a photographer. I mean, just move on to a different camera. It's not for you. But I think that if you like the format, to me, it's a nice extra camera to have, and it's definitely for art purposes. I've seen several people do lifts transfers with them. I've seen people do collages with them. So to me, they fulfill an artistic purpose. I think they could go smaller. That's what I was just saying. I mean,
but Daniel, it killed Spectra.
Again, I love Spectra. Anyone who creeps me around knows that a lot of my early shots back 2008 to 2016 or 17, right, were mostly, I love Spectra. Spectra SE. Spectra SE is one of my favorite Spectras. I even like the 1200 FF. My very first concert that I got to write a review for the Dallas Observer was The Cure. And I was in the photo pit with a bunch of people with like, two camera bodies and like a 300 or like long telephoto lenses to take pictures of Robert Smith. And I was in the photo pit with the 1200 FF because that was the only one I figured out how I could completely cover the flash because no flash photography. So I have a couple of photos of, mostly in focus, but slightly soft.
Oh, your audio went away.
One of my earliest times Sorry, I put it on Do Not Disturb. I don't know what's happening.
Oh, no worries, man.
I'm okay now?
Yeah, you're all good. You're back.
Okay. So where were we going?
Chris says you were in the Cure's photo pit, and then he's bowing to you.
I realized I didn't have dinner. Yeah, I was in the Cure photo pit. I've reviewed the Cure, I think, twice. And I know I've shot them. That was my very first time I reviewed a concert that wasn't something else for a music blog. This was like meant to be a concert review. One time, my first time ever was a music editor at the time sent me to go cover a polka festival in Ennis, Texas. And I got to see 600 people dancing the chicken dance to Brave Combo. So that was my actual first like weekend wrap up thing. But then my first concert review was The Cure. And I brought that 1200 FF into the photo pit.
The chicken dance is nothing to mess with. I've been to a ton of Filipino weddings, and when that shit drops, it's something else.
I mean, you can make fun of it, and it seems silly, but if you're right up close and there's several hundred or several dozen even people doing it in the circles and stuff, it's hard to not get kind of swept up in the emotional.
There's magic to it, And as soon as you hear the thing, all you want to do is like, fucking get in there, dance around. Polka is a weird one though. Like that kind of stuff, tiny little bit triggering for me from my childhood because I grew up in like this town that was called the Bavarian City of the Rockies. And in the summertime, there'd be two massive events where the population of the town would like triple or more. Like there was like 4,500 people in the town, and they get like 30,000 people coming in for it was July Fest and the International Accordion Festival. And so it's like, you'd have a week long of like people fucking playing accordions and doing polka and shit, and then a week long of people getting wasted playing bocce and again listening to like polka accordion music.
Yeah, I mean, a polka festival is a pretty intense thing. That was my first exposure to Brave Combo. Of course, now I've seen them tons of times. For people who don't know, that's like they're one of the biggest famous bands out of Denton. Yeah, I don't listen to polka a lot in the car. I'm not gonna lie, but going and seeing Brave Combo live, there's something about it.
That would have been wild.
We got on that because I was saying I had to clarify. I had to fact check myself about my first concert I got to shoot for a publication, and that was The Cure. For that, unfortunately, the photos are gone. The review is still there, but the photos are no longer there because the Observer it was 2008. So y'all know how the websites work. Mm-hmm. The photos have just dropped off of the website, unfortunately. So only those exist. Yeah. So do we need to do talk about May 7th.
May 7th. Well, just one thing before you jump onto that. I have to kind of do a retraction because I did originally sort of shit on the Go because I thought it was kind of dumb at first. But now I'm on my third pack with it, and it's growing on me. And I mean, look at that face. How can you be mad at that face? It's like the cutest little camera I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like a baby with like chubby cheeks. It's got this cute little.
You can't be mad at it. You're just like you're trying, and your picture's a little fuzzy and blurry, but like you're doing it.
And it can literally fit in a coat pocket, like a hoodie pocket. Like it doesn't weigh very much. So, for me, it's like if I had like a compact 35 millimeter that I was carrying around in the city. I got that on one side. Now I can stick this on the other side while I'm walking, when I don't want to carry my whole camera bag or something. And for, I think, a lot of us, it's like an Instax Mini where, the film's not that much. It's okay to kind of give it away.
Yeah, like it's a good giveaway one. And it's a cute camera. I like it more than the Instaxes. And for any Canadian listeners, if you collect air miles, you can use your air miles to pick up one of the Polaroid Go's. That's how I got my Polaroid Go. I didn't spend any money on it because I was a little skeptical.
That's awesome.
I would spend money on it now, though, if I had to buy it. Apparently, there's some new colorways coming. Shh. But, so May 7th, what did you want to say about that?
Okay, so Edwin Land, right? None of us would be here talking about instant film if it wasn't for Dr. Papa Land. So his birthday, May 7th. There used to be a group, there's a blog, people used to celebrate Edwin Land Day. Then it kind of went away. I don't know why they stopped. And if somebody knows out there, please let me know. I couldn't figure out why it just stopped. But I was like, well, I think we should bring it back. We back to like
totally.
Justin and I's originally thing, was like having a voice that could, commemorate things like this or celebrate things like that. So what we are hoping people do, and I'll do a post about it soon, is we are telling people, and I know a lot of you who are seeing this have done photo walks in your community, and a couple people who've come to our events. I'll say, yeah, go back, just do a photo walk, right? Hashtag PolaWalk. Much like they have, they'll use the hashtag SF Instant Photo Walk, right? Here we'll use IFS and then whatever we're doing, like IFS Trolley Walk or whatever, Trolley Pola Walk. So on May 7th, Instant Film Society is calling for other instant film shooters to, in their own community, do something to commemorate or celebrate Edwin Land Day. Hashtag Edwin Land Day. We've done contests in the past, and we've done things to get people to go shoot. But this year, we're kind of like, kind of suggesting people like host their own Pola Walk in their community. And of course, anybody who's come knows that instant film is not the only thing that happens at PolaCon. Like there's sanitized, people bring, of course there's 8x10, all different, people have all different kinds of cameras there. It's not just a bunch of people with 600, clamshell Polaroid, Hello Kitty and Taz, although I do bring my Taz cam. But it's definitely what we do. Our events are geared towards film photographers as a whole. It is just kind of convenient to have, it's a good name, right? PolaCon's got a nice ring to it. But back to Pola Walk. So if you want to host a Pola Walk, all you do is pick a meetup location, a park, a pub, whatever, in a walkable, photographable part of your city or town. And then you just pick an ending point, right? It's like people come to me and go like, how do y'all do this? How'd you start this? What'd you do? Like you just pick a place and pick another place and you walk between the two and you like meander and kind of people break off and join back up and you just have a loose route with a loose start and stop times and then have fun. But normally you would pick a date. In this case, we're asking people, some of y'all know Lance, he's going to do, I forget what he called it. Marquette walk. I don't know. But wherever anybody's at, if they want to do it, send us a message and we'll help promote it and we'll share it in the story and things like that. But what do you do beyond you just make an event page on Facebook or Eventbrite, right? make it free and just post it in your local, local Facebook groups that are devoted to film photography. So people are shocked at how many people show up to our events, how many photographers. And some of you all just saw the next walk we're doing for anybody who wants to come, anybody here in North Texas or anybody who wants to come in. The next walk that is happening is on April 24th. April 24th. There's an event page on Facebook, and we posted about it on Instagram. And we're recreating the 2013 walk that ended up with us now having PolaCon, because that was the first walk in 2013 that we had 83 people show up to a meetup. We just did hashtags and, Instagram, Facebook, meetup at this park in the middle of downtown Dallas. And 83 up to 85. It was hard to count when you have that many people. It's a little hard. It's a little ephemeral. But we counted at the first meetup 83, and then somebody else counted 85. But I always round down because I don't like to round up. But we're recreating that walk. And for people who don't know, in North Texas, we do have trolleys, not cable cars. They're trolleys. Some of them are 100-year-old. They have names like Petunia and God, I knew their name. The Green Dragon.
I like the Green Dragon. That sounds awesome.
Right. There's like 3 that are really old, like 100-year-old trolleys, and it's free to ride. And it goes in this cool area around the park in downtown, Clyde Warren Park, and then it goes to the Arts District, which there's like a reflecting pool and a bunch of like outdoor sculptures and things like that. Lots of great architecture to shoot. And then we end up taking the trolleys over to a pub that has food and beverages. So that's our next event. But for May 7th, we are urging at you, the watcher, the viewer, the listener, to host your own polo walk in your city that day to celebrate. And when people ask, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Be like, Edwin Land, the guy who invented Polaroids. It was his birthday, because I think a lot of people don't realize how, he invented so many things. Like, we wouldn't have sunglasses the way we think, right? Y'all know he invented the polarized filter. Right? This is why the original logo was the way it is, or was, for people who don't know, the 2 rings.
It's also what made them all their money, so they could make all of the instant film.
Mm-hmm.
That and, like, war projects,
Yeah,
which is
a lot of people.
Cool. Sorry, was that?
There's at least 2 books that kind of hint at that Polaroid changed World War II, because the bombers got to have goggles that were like tinted like that, so they could fly above the clouds and like fly into the sun and stuff and just follow maps or whatnot. So it's interesting, the history. And then of course he had a hand in early 3D and 3D glasses and 3D technology. There's a couple of photos of some opening that he was involved with.
Which is a fun fact. That's how SX70 got its name, because all of the government projects that they did were labeled special experiments, and they were designated a number. And the very last project they did for the government was SX69. And when he wanted to develop the new camera and film, he didn't want any of the competitors to think that they were making a new camera or anything. So that's why they called it SX70, so that the competitors would leave him alone about it. So it's kind of like a cool little note there on the history of SX70.
Yeah, I love all those old stories. I have a collection of at least 8 books now of all the kind of different Edwin Land Polaroid narratives. Of course, a lot of them are very similar. One of the best ones is, of course, that newer one by Rhiannon Madlin.
Well, I haven't checked that
really
one out,
like her.
But there was the one too that was written by the guy that was like an OG executive at Polaroid. I think it was Bob Weisberg or something like that. That one is I think it was called Land's Polaroid.
Okay, I have that one. That's in the stack. I have not read that one, but that one is in my hoard pile to eventually read. We have 2 kids now, my wife and I, so I don't get to read or plan as many events and things now.
Yeah, sorry, it was Peter Wensberg is the author of it.
Peter
Wensberg. It's Land's Polaroid, accompanying the man who invented it. And it's been out of print for ages. Like, it was out in 1987. But if you can find a copy of it, it's super fascinating, because like he gets into like the minutia of how wild Polaroid was as a company, and they weren't a typical corporation. Like, Land didn't really care about making money. He cared about making cool shit. And they just happened to make a lot of money so that they could just make cool shit and not really have to worry about money. And then the cool shit they made just made them more money so that they could just keep doing that. But like, there's one part of the book where he talks about the guy that was tasked with making colored instant film. And he didn't actually even start working on doing anything in the lab until like 2 years after he was tasked, because if he had started working on it right away, Land would have given shit for it, because what Land wanted people to do when he would give them projects is immerse themselves in whatever that topic was, to learn everything that they could about that topic before they even started working on it, instead of trying to figure it out as they were going along. So this guy that was tasked with like making color instant film had to figure out how color behaved, like what you do when you're doing color mixtures and all this wild stuff, before he even started doing anything in the lab. Like, it's a cool book learning about all of the Polaroid history.
Some years here, it works out, and others it doesn't. We get to go by, and anyone who takes the time to Google Photographique, Dallas Observer, there's a cool story about this camera. I wouldn't call it a camera shop. It's a printing shop with a darkroom you can rent, and they do sell some cameras and film, but it's mostly like a print lab, and they do touch-up work. But if y'all Google Photographique, 1 year, I think 2 years, it's worked out where we've taken people by there and we go in and we talk to the owner, and he used to work for Polaroid early on, I think for like 20 years. Don't quote me on that. It's in that story. I could read it, but he worked there, and he has a bunch of cool like just paperwork and documents from like their shows and things that early test film. Like, I remember this one photo he has, the red. It's just incredible. It's like ruby red slippers or something. Like,
well, and his
like
photos, like the old emulsion and stuff, is so beautiful. Like, he was showing us those photos from like was it like late 70s, early 80s or whatever, and they look like they were shot yesterday. Like, just so crisp and gorgeous. But that was back when you could make things out of cancer products.
Yeah, caustic, right?
Yeah,
not toxic, just caustic.
Yeah, super wild.
Instax still has the do not put in your mouth so you don't bite the little sponge.
Well, cause I don't think they've changed the recipe, because like they got the original recipe from like the old school Polaroid stuff, which is probably why they didn't want to give up the pack film stuff, because that's what it Instax is based off of. And Zane made a comment here that SX70 should have not existed from a modern business perspective. The more that he's worked on them, the more that sticks in his head that they're just crazy. And it's totally true. So like, the shareholders got super pissed at Land for the SX70 project, because he basically like doubled down and spent the bulk of their like cash reserves to build a factory for the cameras and a factory for the integral film, and like everything was machined by them, like all the equipment to build the stuff and everything. Like, they built all that equipment to then build the cameras and everything. Like, they were super integrated across the board, and he took a huge chance on it, and I mean, it paid off in spades, because we're all still here coveting those cameras today. But like, Polaroid and Land himself are an example of like, businesses that I don't think would ever exist again today, because no one has like the gravitas to like, pull some shit like that. Cause like, I think Land is probably one of the ballsiest business people that's ever fucking lived. Mainly because he also had the intelligence to back up the ballsiness. Yeah.
And he wasn't afraid to take, like, I mean, obviously, even though it is a Polavision.
Yeah.
So someone brought a beautiful, like, mint Polavision kit. Maybe it was Matt. Brian might be able to comment and tell us who brought it. But it was like in a box, like, looked like it just rolled off the assembly line. It was amazing. And that was a big risk that kind of It's kind of started things not looking good for the company.
And that was like one of the nails in his coffin with the
Yeah.
board, because they looked at the Polavision failure and were just like, we need to get rid of this guy. But that's ultimately what ended up killing the company once he left, because like Land was Polaroid, and and it never existed. And then he was like super salty about it too, where it's like he saw his baby failing and was like, "Fuck you guys, you kicked me out, you fucking die. That's it." Like he was apparently pretty bitter about his ejection from the company.
And then eventually Polaroid got slapped on everything.
Yes.
Which I'm not necessarily like. I know there's a part of me that like my wife came home with this from like the clearance rack at Target, and I was like, absolutely, that's fantastic. Like I don't know. There's a part of me that likes how commercialized the brand is in a way that there's like track jacket or track pants that say Polaroid at Walmart. I mean, I don't know. But I have a love-hate relationship with the fact that the brand got put on everything, like dollar store speakers that light up, for your iPhone.
Well, and that was kind of the shame of it. It went from like one of the most amazing engineering companies probably in the world to just a shill for like if you wanted to spend some money to slap the Polaroid label on some bullshit. They would take the money, which is it's good now that like Polaroid Originals has had such a great success with the film that they folded Polaroid proper back into it and just created one company again. Which I'm glad that was able to happen. But excuse me. The Polaroid history is absolutely fascinating, and we could wax lyrical about it for like probably weeks. The May 7th thing, though, that's amazing.
Edwin Land Day. So hashtag Edwin Land Day. There will be an announcement soon. We didn't want it to confuse people with the event that's going on. I wanted today to be like we got to like this is an exclusive, right? Exclusive announcement. I don't know. So we've been meeting and talking about this for months, literally since last year. I'd started doodling out the post. Like I've already got the draft ready. We'll have some kind of a contest. I think last year we had people recreate. We teamed up with, I think, Brooklyn Camera. Don't quote me on this. I think we teamed up with them, and we did something where we had people recreate either a photo of Edwin Land. Yeah, like people would pose like in one of them recreating a photo of him or something. I don't remember what we did last year, but we've got a new idea, a new prompt. It'll be like a prize, like a contest that'll be online. Anyone can participate. Unlike now, most of y'all know the scavenger hunts. We're back to, now that we're not virtual anymore, scavenger hunts are for people who are at the conventions, at the con, at the PolaCon or meetup or whatever you want to call it. Now I don't even call it a convention. I forget what Andy said. Andy Odom, most of y'all know. If you don't, he is one of the main people now who helps us. He's here in Denton, and also Instant Denton. If y'all don't follow him, John Eric Munoz, they are instrumental with what we do here. But I forget what we started saying we were going to call it. Something else. Anyway, but for those who don't know, PolaCon, can I explain PolaCon? Because I think we realized after Bay Area this year that some people don't know what it is.
Yes. Before you jump into the PolaCon,
they think it's something different.
Before you jump into the PolaCon thing, I'll just say for the May 7th thing, I'm not going to be in Vancouver. Otherwise, I'd host one here. But I'm doing a group
Where are you
show.
Going to be?
I'm going to be in Toronto.
So you should do something there.
Well, that's what I was going to say. There? So if anyone wants to get together to do a PolaCon walk or a Papa Land Day,
walk.
A Pola walk in Toronto, let me know because I'm going to be there doing a group show on Land's birthday, which is kind of wild. But it doesn't start till 8 p.m. So in the afternoon, if any of Toronto people are on here. And you want to get together, DM me and we'll throw something together. Maybe we'll like meet up in Kensington Market or something, and we can do a walk around there, like through Kensington Market in Chinatown. It would be rad to do that. And I hope someone in Vancouver here can put something together. I'll see if I could track someone down.
But you could see that's the thing. You could throw up a page. You could throw up a page there and there, because again, like it's like I'm trying to tell people, like we're just putting meetup points and getting things for people to do. I mean, that's all we do. We're just like, hey, there's this thing. We're hosting it at this place. You can go here. There's not that much to what we do. I think it's just that nobody's doing it. So that's kind of, as it's not. I mean, just people to get together and take photos and hang out and exchange handles and interact. And the thing is, I know people who show up to this are creatives and photographers and art directors and designers, and it's just a pretty interesting, cool crowd, and that's why for me, May 7th, doing something Edwin Land Day, I really wanted to do something that people could outsource, and we started talking about this last year. And I have to plug this because I won't say my daughter's real birthday because they say you're not supposed to do that on the internet.
That's fair.
But my daughter, who is almost a year old, her due date was originally May 7th. And I was like, no way. So I had to say that's not a real birthday. But anyway.
That's fair. But
so
a perfect
May 7th.
May 7th. If anyone wants to do something for Toronto or Vancouver, let me know. I'll help put that together. And Brandy is also asking if anyone wants to do something in Seattle. So if you want to get together in Seattle, hit Brandy up, Sunshine Only Girl or Film Diary Redhead. Hit her up. And then I think we have a perfect segue question here from Dave, aka Cinedar. He says, hey, what's Dave. Good for Denton PolaCon this year? So I think this gives you the perfect thing to talk about.
Go straight into Denton PolaCon. Okay.
Well, go into the sort of, I guess, explanation of PolaCon. So you're going to do like the difference between Bay Area and Denton, because they are two very different beasts.
Yes. So here's what I'll say first. It needs to be out there for everyone to understand. Anyone who goes to real conventions, and I say that very seriously, like real conventions where there's like a check-in desk and you get a badge and like there's tickets for things, like that is not what this is. This PolaCon is a meetup for photographers that takes place over 3 days, right? Typically, PolaCon is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? It's choose your own adventure, right? Like you're on your own. You get your own hotel. If you want to do Airbnb, you do Airbnb. You want to do a hotel, you do a hotel. You want to stay at a real B&B. You want to stay here in Denton. I'll talk about Denton. There's a place called the Old Irish Inn or something like that that's on an alpaca farm. There's a buffalo ranch where you can stay on a ranch with 35 head of buffalo. It's like a hotel / B&B. There are a lot of options here in Denton. Everything from like $39.99 off the freeway hotels. Do not stay there. to like $70 or $80 a night places that have themed rooms. Like there's a Grecian themed room and like I forget what the other rooms are, but there's 4 themed rooms. Some of y'all photographers know what I'm talking about. They only allow 2 people. They only allow 2 people in, and they say no cameras. Brian, right?
in Korea, they call those love motels.
I wasn't going to say that, but anyone who wants that one, just DM me, and I can point you all in that direction. But there's nice hotels. There's mid-level hotels in Denton.
Is all the furniture vinyl?
At that place, I imagine. Yeah. I haven't seen these other than photos of. I've seen photos of them, but I wanted to do a band photo shoot there, and that's when I learned that they won't let a band in. You can't take in more. They were like only 2 people.
Oh, that's
only
lame.
2 people. Yeah. Well, then they don't want people shooting other, any kind of films there. Or
that's
photo
fair.
Shoots.
Just one other thing on Papa Land Day. I'm just gonna throw it out here. To celebrate Land's birthday, I found a copy of Land's Polaroid here. I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to do a giveaway for a copy of Land's book here. So stay tuned for how that's going to work. Zane says no orgies are allowed, but it has a good place to eat next door with great margaritas.
It does, right? So he knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, it really does. I think they have, Zane, don't they have 100 margaritas there? I think they have 100 margaritas. Or different types of margaritas. So PolaCon this year. This year will be our 7th year. Every year it happens in Dallas now and Denton. We always tell people, a lot of people came in town, like we had some people last year come in from New York. And I always tell people, go back and read or message us. We used to post more, but then people started complaining it was too much to read. So it's like you can't please everyone, right? But like, here, I'll say this here, and I'm going to make the post a little bit more detailed this year on like where you want to stay. You don't want to stay in Dallas. You want to get an Airbnb or stay at a B&B or stay at a hotel or stay at one of those ranches that are either 2 to 3 minutes from the square or 10 to 12 minutes from the square. You don't want to stay in Dallas and have to drive back and forth. The only thing we have in Dallas is how we all got here is we started off, Justin and I, just doing an Instant Film Society walk at the State Fair of Texas. The State Fair of Texas, that's opening weekend. So it's always easy for us to tell people when is PolaCon? It's always the last Friday of September, because that's when the State Fair of Texas kicks off. It's in 100 and something whatever year, right? We just piggyback on that, and we go there and we meet up and we take pictures of the midway and people and the costumes, things, and it's colorful. It's great. Some people like to shoot the day better, and other people like to stay and shoot the neon and stuff at night better. But Friday night is always the State Fair of Texas. And then we go up to Denton, and all the other events are within a walkable area, a 0.9 mile walkable area of downtown Denton. It's a historic downtown area, lots of neon signs, lots of cool shops, everything from like little mom and pop kind of ice cream shops to bookstores, really cool recycled used bookstore on the corner in an old purple opera house. So many places I'm afraid to even begin mentioning, or I'll forget places, but anyone who's been can tell others that there's a lot of cool stuff to shoot and do there. So I do recommend. A lot of people came into Bay Area, and there were a couple, I guess, Airbnb. I guess they were calling them the Pola Frat houses or something like that. I don't know what. Brian fact checked me on that. I think they were called something to that effect. But I do recommend that, because if you get an Airbnb in downtown Denton or there's a B&B just north of the square, the closer you are to the square, the less you'll have to drive or walk. And if you get an Airbnb, at least two people I can remember, two different people come into town and got Airbnbs that were within walking distance to the square, which means that you never have to walk more than about less than a mile the whole weekend, to and from the different venues. And we will be at Rubber Gloves again on Saturday for the Zines and Things swap meet. So I hope everyone who knows is planning on bringing zines or pens or buttons. To me, the Zines and Things swap meet is the coolest part of PolaCon, because we get to swap and trade everything from packs of film to zines and pens and buttons and T-shirts and cyanotypes, lots of cool stuff. So if anyone has any questions about what you can or can't bring to this swap meet on Saturday, just message me. But if you've never been to PolaCon, it's just going to be a little bit more of the same. And this year we have like SX Divey and a couple other people. I know Zane will do something again because he's here in Denton. So we're going to have a really cool lineup this year. And I've secured the venues and a lot of other stuff way earlier than ever before. So if you're planning on coming this year, it's going to be the 30th, September 30th, October 1st and 2nd. And to please some out-of-towners, we might actually make this the first one where we go into a fourth day, where there will be an optional day 0, because I've resisted it because it's a little, to me, as a Dallasite and now Dentonite, it's a little cliche. But people from out of town want to do the JFK stuff. So we're going to do like Daily Plaza and then go over to Oak Cliff and do Texas Theater and like Top 10 Records. These are cool places to photograph by themselves, but they have historical significance to people who know the history of JFK and Lee Harvey Oswald and Jack Ruby.
So like Polaroids from the grassy knoll?
Yes, we will be able to take Polaroids on the grassy. We will walk from the school book depository to the grassy knoll. We will do that. And you can take photos of like the little white X's that they painted on the concrete.
Well, and if what are they? If QAnon's correct or anything, we might get lucky and we'll be able to take pictures with JFK himself. Man,
some of y'all know because you follow news. I think there might still be people in Daily Plaza waiting for it's crazy, y'all.
I couldn't help that one.
No, that's great because it's one of the most absurd things that's ever happened here. And there's always a small amount of people out there selling like weird self-published like zines and newspapers, conspiracy theory things, and I love that part of it too. But now there's this whole other level. Like those people must be like, damn, look at these nut jobs. You know, it's like weird, but.
I also wanted to throw, not to put you on the spot with this one, but I remember when PolaCon 3 was the first one that I made it down for, and
was that 2018, right?
that was 2018.
Yeah, so
That was all because
the
of Armando. I would have never
Armand
made it
at
down
Denton
if it wasn't.
Camera?
Yeah, if it wasn't for Armand at the Denton Camera Exchange, I would have never made it there. And if it wasn't for Jason Lee and the Boston Plainview trip, I would have never met Armand. So, big thanks to Jason and Armand for introducing me to all of this.
Yeah, thank you to both of them. Armand here in Denton has helped tremendously from the first year. And he and I and Justin were doing events as early as 2013 together, piggybacking on music festivals here in Denton. And then, of course, some of y'all know Jason when he was here in Denton, Denton County. He spoke at and talked at the first PolaCon. So I'm sad that he's gone. Eventually, if and when there's a PolaCon LA, if Jason watches this, I assume he knows that we will hit him up. There's been people wanting a PolaCon LA from early on, but of course SF happened first.
And also one of the photos that you gave me for sharing was a great portrait that you took of Mr. Lee.
Yeah, James Allen Eakins, Broad Daylight, at Broad Daylight. I gotta give him the props. I mean, it was my backdrop. I forget who had the lights. It might have been my lights from school. I don't remember now. It might have been Armin's. I'm not sure. Good question. He definitely helped set it all up and loaded it up. But and then I got to wait and kind of position and wait for a blink, and then I fired. So yeah, that's a pretty good shot of Jason.
That's
and then another
fantastic.
shot for music fans. Another Polaroid I sent you was Andrew Savage. For anyone who's ever been in a Teenage Cool Kids or Parquet Courts or oh gosh, what other bands? I'm going to forget now. I feel terrible. Ferguson Geronimo. But of course, Parquet Courts is a Denton band that now, this last year they were on former President Barack Obama's playlist of the year, one of their songs, Parquet Courts. And he was a Dentonite. So I used to see him at house shows on Panhandle House venue. And that's the other thing I'll say. We're almost out of time. The big difference.
Oh no, we got plenty of time. So it's like
going?
we don't end at the hour. We can go a little longer, and so
we can ride. Okay. Yeah. So the big difference between Brian got the perfect venue. The Parkside is the perfect venue. Two people who I used to know who are former Dentonites who now live in the Bay Area told me, "Oh my God, this is perfect." That's the rubber gloves of the Bay Area. But we haven't booked shows there. When we're here in Denton, I always have like an after party, and we don't do the after party on Sunday because a lot of people have to fly back out at 2 or 3 p.m. on Sunday. And we have events. We have stuff going on Sunday all the way through about 8 p.m. And that's in the end on Sunday. But so we have a big after party where I have like bands. And this last year for PolaCon 6, we had karaoke. A friend of mine, Johnny, he put together a list of like, I don't remember what we had, like 15 to 20 camera themed songs for karaoke. And then of course you could choose other ones, but we had like a menu, of like camera songs. So we had karaoke in one room at Rubber Gloves. And then on the other side, we had like a full concert with, I guess, 4 different bands, really cool stuff that are photographable.
Oh, that's wild.
We usually try to have bands that have like smoke or lasers or just things that are interesting. So this year, October 1st will be that night will be the after party, but we haven't officially booked anybody yet, to be honest. The first person I messaged said they weren't booking that far out yet. So this is the first year I've ever planned this far ahead. So it's nice to be ahead.
That's awesome. What I was going to say, though, so at PolaCon 3, the first one that I got to go to, you all had a podcast there. And
Film Photo Geeks.
That's right. And I don't know if I made
it was
ask
great.
myself.
It was a good interview.
It was a great interview. And, for posterity, there's me shit-talking Fuji on there and how much I despise them for killing pack film. So that's forever on the internet.
And it's good to get that out sometimes. I mean, that's where I try to stay on the bright side, but I think we all know. I mean, we're all still mourning the loss. It's like losing a loved one. You never really, you get over it and you move on, and life changes and you adapt. But you never really, like, I never really am going to not get over not being able to just go buy 3000B for a reasonable price in a hurry at a camera store.
Well, and the death was still fresh because they killed it in 2018. So it's like, when I got to PolaCon, like, I was still kind of reeling, and I won't repeat them here, but I said some pretty choice shit about how I felt towards the executives that made that decision. And if you want to go find that, go Google Film Photo Geeks. Was it
Film Photo Geeks? Yeah.
And
Laura,
the
it's
PolaCon
awesome.
episode.
She started to. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you up. She started. She took over. There used to be a place. There is a place in McKinney, Texas, that has a cool downtown area. Some of y'all know who are here in North Texas. And there was a place called Goodies, and it used to be a chocolate shop and camera shop that had like a dark room. I mean, it was literally like if a small camera shop with a lot of supplies, and then the other side it was like a chocolate shop. And she took it over, and the guy moved and took his camera part of it, but she basically took over the chocolate shop. So she's not as involved, I would say, in Instant Film Society stuff as she was able to used to be when she wasn't running her own and she runs another business, like a yoga studio. So
holy shit.
But I stay in touch with her a lot and see her, and I hope she can come back, because she was really great at helping me on the day of, because we're all volunteer. Some years I get students as interns that kind of help behind the scenes make things happen. But she was fantastic about helping me make things happen. So is Jessica. Anytime Jessica, some of y'all know Jet Setter, 20. Oh man, I've had beer on an empty stomach with no pizza
Jet
yet.
Setter 22.
22. I was like 29. Then I was like, that's not right.
No,
like,
Jessica Reinhardt. She's a 8x10 legend.
She is fantastic to help, and it's like I can do fine on day one and day two, but by the end of day two, PolaCon, I need somebody else to slide in and start yelling and directing. So anyway,
Jessica's fantastic for that. But what I wanted to throw at you was I thought it was really cool having that podcast portion in PolaCon 3 at 2018, and if you guys would be down with it, I'd be like interested in doing an episode of the chat where we could do like have a panel, but then also have it live on Instagram Live. And
absolutely done. Easy.
Sorry, I was wrong. It's Jet Setter 23. We were both
23. Wrong. See, I knew it was 20, and normally I would be able to fact check, but I can't right now. I can't fact check anything because I'm on the phone. Like normally I would. I need another phone here. Like anybody who does real live radio or broadcast, you have you have your laptop where you're able to fact check, but I'm not able to right now. My laptop. I'm coming to y'all live from my my garage, because our office is right next to the baby's room and the baby's asleep. So.
Oh, that's fair. I think Jessica's ears were burning.
This is my PolaCon attendee motivation all year. When I park my Jeep, which should be right here, I see this corkboard, and as some of y'all know, for the first not year one, but year 2 and 3 live, I would have people, when they would check in, they would like put a pin in where they were from. So I think you used to be, right, Merlin? You were here. Wait, you were here.
No, I was
Toronto. Yeah,
I was in Toronto.
Yeah, you were Toronto penned, but now you would be over here, and the Vancouver one fell off, right?
Yeah.
But that's I had...
Because there was like an East Coast, West Coast kind of thing going on there. Because there was... I was repping Toronto, and then...
Nolan?
Nolan, yeah. I haven't heard from him in a while, though.
No one said, yeah, I haven't either. I'm going to message him after we get off, because I wondered if him... So the saddest part for me is some of y'all know is now that I have 2 kids, I don't get to spend as much time on the internet. So to me, PolaCon is really important, because it is when I get to see a lot of y'all and hang out and chat, because I'm not online as much as I wish I had time to be. And that's the best part about PolaCon, of course, is getting to put a face with the @handles, and a voice with the names, and take photos with people that you admire and you think are pretty cool.
Well, I've mentioned it when I've talked with other people before, but you know, PolaCon is pretty special to me because like when like that 2018 was like a real sort of like pinnacle year for me because before I took the trip to Boston for Jason's workshop, when like the night that I bought the tickets for Jason's workshop, I was on the fence of like killing myself because I was like, you know, I kind of like all of the things going on in my mind were just basically like, well, what's the point of being around right now? Everything's stupid. And while I was like having that thought, and also having a bout of insomnia because it was like 3 a.m. in Toronto, I saw Jason had posted that he was doing this workshop in Boston. And I was just like, well, fuck it. His photography is like a really big inspiration for me, like his ethos and like the pictures he takes and everything. And so I was just like, well, you know, what's another $600 on the credit card if I'm like just off myself anyways next week? So I made plans to go to Boston as just kind of like a, you know, get a cool trip in before the end. And meeting Armand and just the people in general there, like, you know, interacting with like all the different people that signed up for the photo workshop day, because there's 12 of us there. So there was like 2 Canadians, me and this lady Barb, and then a bunch of other interesting cats. But just getting introduced to like more of like the real life photographic community, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And it kind of invigorated me a little bit more. And that sort of like thought in my mind of like, you know, what the plans were started to fade a little bit. And then Armand was like, come on down to Texas for this PolaCon thing. And I was just like, I don't know. And he's like, come on, you got to do it. And so PolaCon was like, Boston's kind of started me on a different track, but PolaCon cemented it because that trip, meeting everyone there and getting involved in the community was a real lifesaver for me because it's such a welcoming community. It really blew my mind how amazing everyone was, like Brandy especially. Like, you know, I was a total stranger and like Brandy adopted me that weekend and was just like, you know, showing me all around and everything. And, you know, everyone was so welcoming.
That's the hardest part for me. I'm so busy, I don't get to do some of that. So that's what I depend on is people like Brandy to kind of help you. I mean, you know, I try to welcome everyone.
Yeah,
I'm running around like crazy. So thank you, Brandy, because I know that everybody who does that and welcomes people in who are new, it really helps cement that this is amazing. Kind of I hate to say this because I don't like the word tribe. But that's why we call it a society instead of a club.
I don't know if I use tribe, but it definitely feels like a family. So it's like, family, you know, yeah. I felt a little bit like an outsider in the 2018 one, and I was kind of like dipping my toe in a little bit, and y'all were very welcoming. And, you know, I was a little nervous about going to Texas, not being a white person. So like I didn't know what to expect, and I ended up absolutely falling in love with Denton and just the whole experience there. And then coming back for 2019 for PolaCon 4, that just like cemented it even more. Like, you know, getting closer to like Brian and Mary and everyone, and you know, meeting Dave, Sinadar, spending time with Jess. Like it just everyone became really important, and it was really cool getting to like see everyone and spend time with them. So it was like always that thing to look forward to. And then, you know, PolaCon Bay Area 1 happened in, you know, March 2020. And that was a weird one. And it was really great to be able to see Alex and, you know, Brian and Mary and, you know, all the familiar people and some new faces and everything. And, yeah, it's just been such a great community. And, yeah.
I'm glad we did it. I know some people. So you came, and I think that you and a few people, Brian, and a few out-of-town people get to see what we were seeing.
Yeah.
Was a very cool snowball happening. And 2019, if the pandemic hadn't happened and things hadn't gone how they would, I think that PolaCon 5 would have been amazing here.
PolaCon
because then we would have done Bay Area. And then 5 would have been nuts, but of course 5 we had to do virtual, and Bay Area we barely pulled that off right before everything shut down. So
that was such a weird experience because like I've spent a lot of time in San Francisco for work, and I'd never seen a San Francisco like that before. Like just watching the city close down around us and the sort of life just like draining from it was super surreal. But Wait, what's that?
Chinatown looked like a movie set. Like
It did.
It was so surreal because it looked like an empty movie set. I kept waiting for newspapers, to blow down. It was almost like there wasn't enough litter. It was too clean. But yeah, it was pretty weird and surreal to be there as everything was shutting down. And some of us got to witness. We looked over in the plague ship. It was out there.
Yeah, when we went to Oakland, there was a plague ship out there, but it was just, I don't know. I hope other people have had a similar experience with it, where it's just like PolaCon's a really special thing, and not just for the camera stuff and like the advancement of it, but just the community around it. Like y'all have done a really great job of putting together this like fantastic community, and just because it's so welcoming and inclusive, it's just what like brought so many great people into it. And I think there like, I know you were sort of lamenting that like PolaCon 5 would have been huge if it could have been in person, but I also think it was really cool that it was virtual in a way, because that was the first time so many people around the world who have heard about PolaCon and wanted to be part of it were able to be part of it. And I was a little tiny bit bummed that PolaCon 6 didn't have as much virtual stuff to it, because
we tried it. The technology didn't work out. Of course, some of y'all know Brian wasn't able to come out, and he was going to bring a crew. Like, we did the best we could. And I think that, going forward, people want there to be a virtual component. So I'll just put this out there. If there's someone watching who, and Brian, I think he this year knows how we can do it a little bit easier. But the reality is, we are a nonprofit. We are all volunteers. Unless we have someone volunteering to do something, it's hard to do it. So, we'll do Instagram Live, and I actually got some little stands like that I'm on right now, like little stands you can put a phone on and do like a live thing. So we will do our best, and we always have done our best to try to post a lot of, so people can see parts of it, so they don't have too much FOMO. But those of you who are considering or thinking about or on the fence about PolaCon, Denton is not, as now Merlin could attest, it's not what you think of Texas.
It's amazing. Like
it's a little.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's a little island amidst other things. Just to give you some quick background, not to get too political. A lot of Texas, of course, went. Who? Some of Texas, like Dallas, went Biden. Denton went Bernie. So Denton is different. It's very progressive, but there's some elements that are still, Texas, Denton County. It is, but progress is happening. They within the last since 2019. By the time now people are returning, the Confederate monument that used to be on the square is gone and got taken down. So it's not. It's just a cool town that feels, a lot of people say it's like a mini Austin. I don't want to compare it to Austin because there's no comparison. Denton is just a small, magical 2-college town where there's a bunch of cool shops around a square. Midway Mart is walkable to the area, and they have a great beer selection. Some people, you'll walk in there, and the first time people go to Midway Mart, which is right around the corner from Denton Camera Exchange, which is where we used to have after parties, but now we've outgrown having. One year we had a DJ booth set up in where Armin normally brings people up.
Yeah, I think 2018 was the last one, right? Because we had the after party there, and that was a cool experience. That was fun.
And this year we might do something there because I think this year what the plan is, since we lost Armadillo. I drank my Armadillo beer and didn't shout it out, but I had Honey Please a minute ago. In years past, we've had an after party at Armadillo. We've stopped there, ordered pizza, and sat there and kind of had beer till they closed. They have a couple arcade games, but just a nice space, cool murals. They closed just recently, unfortunately. So probably what we'll end up doing this year is the after party. We'll kind of move back across the square and end up at the camera store and order pizzas. And people can walk around the corner to the Midway Mart. They have a beer selection that's on par with like a Whole Foods or Central Market and most indie, a lot of indie beers they have, and they're reasonably priced.
Also, big shout out to Mi Casita, just across from Midway Mart there. Some of the best fucking Tex-Mex. I dream of it. Like, I've been thinking since 2019 about how badly I want, like, a Tex-Mex platter with a nice Topo Chico. It's been killing me.
So almost the first couple years, every morning, Mi Casita would donate breakfast tacos, and we would have like a couple bags of chips and salsa and breakfast tacos. I don't know what will happen this year, but for those who don't know, they're in the parking lot with Denton Camera Exchange. That's Armin's family's shop, so it's a local favorite. They like a quick, fast casual Tex-Mex kind of place.
Yeah. Also, everyone in Texas has guns.
A lot of people do. I'm not a.
It kind of
a
blew
lot
my.
of people do, though. I mean,
it blew my mind a little bit last time, and like some of the stories are not for on here, but I had a moment where I was having lunch at Mi Casita, and I looked out, and there was like a homeless dude pushing a shopping cart that had like a fucking handgun hanging out of the back of his pants, and I was just like, holy shit, even the homeless people have fucking guns in Texas.
I mean, so look, like Texas is Texas. It's Texas, but Denton is, it's a safe college town where the police, don't mess with you unless you're. So this is the other reason. So what's cool about Denton? This downtown square. So hypothetically, someone could go to Midway Mart, buy a 6-pack, have it in their camera bag, be drinking, go to the Denton Camera Exchange, and then walk the square. The square, as long as you're not like, to the like a public intox level, like you're not like staggering and causing a problem. It's basically legal to drink open, container around the square. So that's why we used to have after parties at Armin, because we could people would go to Midway, order a pizza or whatnot, and we'd have the concert there at the camera store. We outgrew it. So this year we'll be back. We'll be at Rubber Gloves on October 1st, Saturday, and that I can for sure announce. And those of you who are watching who are interested in going to our thing that we're doing May 7th, we'll meet at Denton Camera at 2. Then we're going to head across to Free Play, and which is a reopened arcade, like a barcade. And we'll be there for 2 hours or hour and a half to 2 hours. People who don't want to go in there, we have an alternate thing that they can do if they don't want to pay to get in. And then we'll end up at Rubber Gloves, and we'll be there from 6 to 9 on the patio doing Polaroids on the patio. And that'll all be to commemorate Edwin Land Day. And that's what we're doing here in Denton. But for back to PolaCon, this year might be the first year that we charge $5 donation for people to attend. Up to this point, it's always been free to attend. I said the first 5 years, I didn't want anyone to think we were trying to make money off of it or do anything. We are a nonprofit now, registered in the state of Texas. I never wanted people to, I don't know. I've never put any of my own stuff in the zines and things, swap meets to this date. I've always just wanted other people to show their stuff and do their thing, and that's what I wanted this to be. But this year we will probably this will be the first time here locally. We'll do like a $5 or $7 donation, something like that. It won't be more than
and you put an asterisk here saying suggested donation. Yeah,
suggested donation. If you can't donate, we will have a scholarship option. So if anyone, back to me, part of this was I teach at a community college. I wanted my students to be able to go. A lot of us know people came in by the second and third year. People were telling me, why don't you charging $200 or $300 for PolaCon? I was like, you are not getting it, right? I want this. To me, this is a time to share and give secrets away and not be charging money. This is a time to hang out and make cool art together. And people who don't want to be a part of it don't have to be a part of it. And those of us who want to can. So we like to keep it free. Up to this point, everything's been free. This year we did a donation at Bay Area, and it worked well. And it's going to help us offset the costs of some important things that we've been procrastinating on for a long time with this Trump society. So know that we are a nonprofit. Even our posters, and people, the only thing we ever sell, we get pens made by Mad World Records, and then we give them away for free. We paid for stickers and took $1 donation to basically pay for those. The posters are made by an artist, and then we basically use the poster money to pay the bands or the karaoke. Basically, the after party is paid for by the cost of the posters. So, PolaCon is not about making money. PolaCon is about getting people together and doing cool shit. And it's all photographable. All the bands know that they're performing. So this is something else that's cool. PolaCon, the night in Denton, the bands know that this is the photography. It's the film convention. They want Polaroids. You can get up close. Like, I basically tell people it's like having you basically have all access pass. If you're there at PolaCon attending, you'll get a stamp that says it's Film Society. You get a discount to the concert, to the after party. So it makes it for those who like to shoot concerts and live music or karaoke. We'll have both again this year because Bay Area. I love Parkside. It's perfect. There's a stage indoor. This year we had stuff happening, so we had 2 places. Some of y'all know at Rubber Gloves, we kind of have 3. There's 3 different rooms we can work with and play with. So we'll have the karaoke, and it'll be completely separate from the live music. For those who don't like live music and don't want to shoot, you can just go in and sing tipsy karaoke with your photography Pola pals.
It's a fun time. Like, if you can make it down, definitely by all means go. Like, it's been a tough couple of years not being able to get down there to see y'all. And I
missed you this year in Bay Area. I felt like y'all, and of course Brian Garbrecht and Mary Berry. I felt like there were some people who
dude, I was so so that's the first time I felt FOMO since the pandemic started, and they removed the requirement for testing the weekend after Bay Area. So it's like, if it was like 1 week ahead, I could have been down there, but whatever. Next year, I'll definitely be down there for it. And I'm also, I'm going to probably be in Texas for a couple of weeks this year, because I might stick around for Steve's birthday.
Well, if you can come down, so this year, people who are wanting to get the full PolaCon experience, try to come down the Thursday, because the Thursday there will be some events.
I'll probably come early, and then because I think Steve says his birthday is like October 10th or something. So I'll be in the area for a while.
Were there more questions?
I don't think there's any other questions there.
No, nobody wants. We don't have questions.
Was there any other PolaCon stuff you want to share or talk about, or that you had
what
in
else
mind?
should I talk about? Oh man, I don't know what else I should talk about. If anyone's watching who knows how to make cool T-shirts, someone should scan the Garbage Pail Kids, the Polaroid. I really want this on a T-shirt, right? This would be a cool T-shirt.
The Polaroid?
Yeah, it's the Garbage Pail Kids Pola Boy. No, Polaroid. It's Polaroid. He's like a instant film camera who's just like barfing out Polaroids.
Send me a scan of it.
Could you make that happen? You could do that.
Yeah, I'll figure something out.
Nice. It'd be a great sticker, but it would also make a cool T-shirt.
Yeah, send me a scan of it, and I'll play around with it.
So since we're still going into overtime, I want to go back to something you said, and part of the reason that I did this, because I teach students and I have for a decade, I learned that a lot of artists feel isolated and cut off, and before the internet, it was even worse. Right? I mean, think about it. Like, before you could find people with message boards and chat groups, and then social media, and now hashtags. And especially the smaller the town, the harder it was to find like-minded people. So people asked, like, early on, going back to the history, like when we had that walk in 2013 and 83 to 85 people showed up, Toby and other people were like, how is this happening? And I was like, well, Dallas is kind of like LA and some other big suburban areas where we have the Metroplex. So we have like Denton, Dallas, Fort Worth, and all the mid cities. So So there's like a Dallas Fort Worth photography group and a Denton film collective and a Fort Worth film group. And, there's all these different independent groups. And when you have a big event, people come in from all those different groups, So to me, I feel like what PolaCon is and all our meetups are really about is really just getting film photographers together to have something that has a name that's legit, that people aren't too worried about. Like, are these people doing, like, what are they doing? What's going on here, And we do always try to keep it family friendly, mostly family friendly at our events. Even if we have talks with someone who's, we basically, we've had some exhibited work and things that are, nothing that wouldn't be in an art gallery. I'll say that, right? Like, those of us who know, we all know we try to keep it where, back to, like, we have events for family, 101s and cyanotypes, because, kids can do cyanotypes, and some photographers have never done cyanotypes. So you can have somebody 8 and somebody 28 who are sitting there doing cyanotypes for the first time, and it's really cool. So now I'm rambling. I don't know what's happening. I never ate. I told my wife, I was like, I just realized right before we went live, I said, holy I never ate dinner. So
you're having liquid dinner there. Barley counts as a food group, right?
Yeah.
Sarah did have a question, though, that Andy answered, but her question was that if you wanted to donate outside of the PolaCon tickets, is there a place to do that? And Andy said, absolutely. InstantFilmSociety.com. There's a donation widget. So if you want to give to the fine Instant Film Society, check out their website.
You can donate us a coffee, I think is what it says, or something like that. But yes, there is a way to do that. And then when we do the shirts, sometimes y'all pay attention to when we post about shirts, because sometimes that is a way that we're like fundraising. In some cases, we get back like half or almost half, depending on what we've done or how it works out. And then same kind of thing with the posters, like the artist is giving them to us at basically his cost. Napkin Art, if y'all don't follow him, go back and look at our past posts of the posters. We'll have a cool PolaCon 7 one this year. We keep them to $20. I mean, we're not trying to make a lot of money off of this. We're just trying to have something cool for people to take home. But this year, those who are still listening and will listen later, if you come, bring stuff for Zines and Things Swap Meet. We will be at Rubber Gloves this year. They have more tables than ever. We will have space. So if you're hesitant at all, like, will people like it? Should I? Just do it. Just print a couple copies. If you're not sure you can't decide what theme, message me. I'll help. I teach students how to do this, but make some buttons, make a couple t-shirts, bring a couple packs of expired film. The only thing we don't want it to turn into is a camera swap meet, because, then people start bringing a bunch of stuff and unpacking stuff. If you were doing a camera, that's fine, but we want to keep it like zines and things. And that's meaning like Polaroid or instant film inspired art. Cyanotypes are fine. We've had like Shamsi and other cool people have done different cyanotype things. And so anything
if it needs to be instant film based, or could it be other things?
If it's a film photography based zine, I'm not going to tell you no. Yeah, as long as it's photography based and film based for the most part. The Zines and Things Swap Meet is a little loose. PolaCon is the event. Zines and Things Swap Meet is for people who are attendees. Right? If you're an attendee, then you can bring your zines and things to put at a table. So I'm not going to be going around being like, no, you've got to move. No, get your stuff out, right? Like if you've got, like people bring stickers. We have people who do lots of cool buttons that are just like different film inspired buttons. They're not all instant film, Fuji and things like that. One of my favorite ones now is the Fujifilm blimp button. It doesn't have to be instant film for Zines and Things Swap Meet, as long as it's photography or mostly film related. Yeah.
Well, if you wanted to make like a book project or something like that too,
photo books.
There's some like great resources out there. Blurb is a great one. They have like a free software that you can download to build a book project. And if you want to keep it kind of cheap, trade books are the best path to go on that one. And there's tons of other sites out there where you can do printing, or you could even just hit up your Kinko's or Staples or whatever and just print something up on a photocopier.
we have had people do everything from black and white scans to color printouts that they're selling for $2 or $3. They're giving away up to like hardback books. Truly anything that is small. We say zines up to small prints. I wish. Do we have? How long do we have? Can I run and grab something real quick?
Oh, you can run and grab something.
Hold on.
Yeah. All right. You can also do some cool stuff too if you wanted to like keep it kind of lo-fi or whatever. Staples and Avery make these little like label sticker things that turn out to be like the perfect size to make like Polaroid stickers. So I've been using these to make these like Polaroid based looking sticker things, and it's pretty cheap to do them. I think what was the model number of it here? It's the label size 3 1/3 by 4 inch, and it's the Avery 5164 8164. If you want to like mess with those, and I've just been printing these off in a laser printer, and they're pretty cool.
This site is one from the Bay Area. It's like a bunch of left behind photo booth photos that's been like bound as like a cool scene. Some of y'all know it's Jaya. His @ handle, I don't know. I just type in his name, but it's spelled JAYABHAT. Does somebody can post his @ handle? I didn't see him come in, but he did this cool zine. It's in a prescription bottle, and then it says the prescriber is Dr. Land. It says it's required. Take 2 Polaroids 3 times a day, and then
Nice.
you open the zine, and then inside the cover is the Brian Vaxxed, and you can see it's so y'all. If you have a cool package, you have a cool idea. People will pay $5 to $10 for just about anything, and this is remarkable. He's got just a mix of these zines. It's rolled. It's hard for me to flip it and show y'all, but he's got some like different quad ticks and diptychs and just cool things he's got. So there's all kinds of cool ways you can put together zines that they don't have to be a hardback book that costs $20. Some of the best things are, kind of smaller ones that are. This is one.
So if you're wondering what to do with your old antidepressant bottles or old film canisters, there you go.
It's a cool one. This year, the swap meet, there was a lot of really cool. At Bay Area, there was a lot of really cool stuff. That first year was good, but obviously, I think a lot of people were scared off for the right reason, But this year was a really cool Bay Area swap meet, and that thing at Parkside, and back to like some people were messaging and doing feedback, and I understand it. And if you're watching, I understand your feedback. Some people said we need to have it like a bigger space. One person said we need to have it at the convention center hotel, but again, I think some people are misreading what we're doing here. I don't want it at a convention center hotel. That is the last place I would ever host a PolaCon. I want it at a venue where people can eat and have food or coffee, and where there is cool backgrounds that are natural, like walls covered in stickers, which Rubber Gloves in Bay Area, the Parkside have. Different backgrounds that are just natural painted walls, interior and exterior that looks good. I want a place that feels comfortable where people can kind of spread out and kind of feel themselves. And I don't feel that way at a convention center hotel. Sorry.
Well, speaking of those walls, are we going to get to go to Norman Roscoe again, or is that a no-go anymore? I
mean, there will be something that happens there. Some of y'all know Norman Roscoe. The first 2 years, every part of PolaCon on Saturday was held there, including the first year we had our after party there. We had a concert there off the square. People had to go in through the back door. It was pretty cool and clandestine. But they print our T-shirts and some of the times our stickers. They've done all of our t-shirts since the very first year. This year we might have another company who helps do some things so we can have like our logo on some koozies and other things. But Norman and Roscoe will be a part. And yes, upstairs, you're not really supposed to have any people up there, but there is like this legendary wall that's been used for wedding portraits and band portraits. It's been, I mean, it's legendary. It's this pop like marked wall with different textures and like the plaster's kind of ripped off.
Yeah, it's like some lath and plaster, and I think there's some brick there and stuff too. And it's just like it's just so derelict and gorgeous, and especially with like the big bay windows that they have there, and you get that like the light in there with that.
The great natural light, yeah. So we will be around the square again. For those who haven't been to Denton, all of what we do takes place within 0.9 miles walkable of this downtown, picturesque square. And we will incorporate a couple of places on the square this year that we haven't in the past. But yeah, there will be something at Norman Roscoe. I'm not sure if it'll be 8x10s upstairs where people have to, because we can't have too many people there at once. And sometimes, one time we had a workshop and I had said, hey, we can't have more than 5 people up there at once because the owner, they kind of told us we shouldn't have any people up there. I shouldn't even be talking about this. But long story short, somehow I got a text and like the people were like, hey, we see, and there were like a bunch of people upstairs. And like, I was like, we got to get people down. So like, we will incorporate up there, but it'll probably be like, we always have to limit how many people go up there. And we have to be very careful. Cause again, I don't want this to feel like a stressed out, like rules heavy, like you got to do what we say kind of thing. But also like, we need to respect these host venues. They're letting us, how we've done what we've done and grown is that, in Denton, we are able to do, we operated for the first 5 years with a budget of $0. We work with host venues that let us go into their places for free. And we have to sometimes kind of keep those capacities to workshops or sessions. But it'll be great this year because everything's opening back up. Of course, numbers are down. All of our venues are already secured. So like none of the stress for me is there. I'm ready to start planning. So anyone who's thinking about coming, who might want to present even, or if you want a spot at the Zines and Things Swap Meet, message sometimes I DM or DM me, and we'll make sure you're set up.
Well, I definitely want a spot in the Zines and Things, and we'll talk more about a podcast episode.
The podcast is perfect and easy, and it'd be perfect to do the state of the emulsion address. It'd be perfect to do that again.
Yeah, and if you want help doing that live, I can help you out with that too.
The goal with that was that the first, I guess it worked out 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row, 3 years in a row. The goal was to have all of the presenters who were there still, who didn't have to leave or go back, to have them all sit in and talk about like what they like about film that year, what they don't like, kind of the state of the emulsion, and just be honest. Some cases it gets real dark and some years it's real positive. And, we were a couple of years it was dark, and I think this last 2 it's been pretty positive.
That's totally fair. Shit gets weird sometimes.
It does. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's been an odd couple of years, but it feels like things are starting to open up again and be a bit safe. So, I'm really looking forward to hitting up Denton this summer, and I appreciate you hanging out here, and I appreciate you awesome. So much too. Like it's been great, getting to know you and like becoming homies, and just the whole Instant Film Society fam. I hope everyone listening here that hasn't experienced it yet gets a chance to come out and experience it and be part of the magic of the Instant Film Society.
Please come out, join us.
And May 7th.
Thank you for this opportunity. May 7th, Edwin Land Day.
Yeah.
Hashtag Edwin Land Day, and I will use the alternate Papa Land Day. I like it.
Awesome. Well, I think you should go grab some food. So I'm going to have Mr. Mocha walk us out here. But thank you again so much for hanging out with me. And
thank you for having me.
Anytime, man. And thank you everyone for tuning in and hanging out with us. Next week, I'm going to be chatting with Cam Sloan. He's a Vancouver photographer here, and we're going to actually be doing that in the studio here, so it'll be a little bit different. So next week should be a fun one too. So thanks again, Daniel, and I will see you in September.
Bye, everybody.
All right, cheers, man.